Hey guys, it's Maymay, and this stamp set, when we created it, this one right here gave me a vision of a card I wanted to make, so that's what we're doing today. I'm going to be using some of the Distress watercolor cardstock because it's perfect for this, and we're going to emboss, so let's get started. So the Distress watercolor sheets that I'm using are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and because I want to mat this card, I'm going to bring this in. So I've cut it to 4 inches, and then I'm going to cut it to 5 1/4. This is the standard that I usually do for A2 size cards. This is the first mat that I'll use. So 4 by 5 1/4, and then we're going to mat the card front too. All right, so that is our watercolor cardstock. Now we are going to emboss. Because this is such a detailed image, I'm going to use my Misty to stamp. This way, if I need to stamp twice, I can. Also because I'm using watercolor paper, and watercolor paper has sort of a texture to it, a pretty defined texture actually. So I want to make sure I can get my embossing ink on really, really well. So I'm going to use my Misty for this. That way, if I need to stamp this twice, I can with no problem. And so I'm going to pick my stamp up there. Now, did you see when I did that and I picked this up, my paper moved? For best results, reset your paper constantly, okay? So resetting means make sure it's in the corner as far as it'll go so your stamping will work correctly. Now, here's another thing I'm going to do, which is a little bit probably overkill, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use both my powder tools, okay? So I'm going to start with my pillow tool. This is my pillow powder tool, and I'm going to pat in some powder, okay? But because this paper is so textured, and that probably is enough, what I just did, I'm also going to use my little brush tool, and I'm going to rub that in as well and hope that I get down into every one of those little spots. This powder section, what we're doing right here, keeps the embossing powder from sticking on the page in places you don't want it to, okay? So there's that. Now we need to ink. I'm using Versamark today. There's lots of different kinds. I like, Versamark seems to be my go-to. So you can't see what I'm doing. Let's come over here so you can see it. I am just inking up this stamp. Now I gotta tell you, when you have a detailed stamp like this and you're using a clear ink, this is another reason that using a positioner is a good idea, because I can do this over and over and over again, but I still can miss a spot. But you see, I'm really, really taking my time to try to get every spot covered in ink. And then I'm going to take it to my paper. All right, so let's put this down. And I'm just going to take the back of my thumb and rub over every section of the stamp. Just like so. Even use my palm a little bit. Get it nice and pressed in, and then lift this up. Now it didn't move much, but it moved a little bit, so I want to make sure I reset my cardstock, because just to be safe, I'm going to give it a double stamp. I may not even need it. I don't feel like I do, but it can't hurt while I've got it in here. Okay, so bring this back over. Do it one more time. Perfect. Okay, now we can heat emboss that. So now I just have a scrap piece of paper here that I'm going to use to pick up my embossing powder. And I'm using Brutus Monroe Gilded embossing powder. And this packaging may look different than if you purchase it today. I think I have the old packaging. So don't worry if you pick it up and it doesn't look the same. I'm pretty sure he's changed his packaging. Look at that. Oh my goodness, that's so pretty. I love it. All right, I'm going to put another. I always do 2 coats. I don't know why. It's just a thing. And tap that off. And I have a mess over here. I don't know what I did. I must have stamped too hard. So I'm going to use a brush and get rid of that. So just using a soft, fluffy brush, I'm just going to come in and take that off like so. See how that's happening? It's just kind of coming off. This brush is good too because it is real fluffy, and it just kind of almost grabs by static. The cool thing is this image is kind of loose on the edges, so it doesn't matter. Look, you can't even tell it. There's a little bit right there. You can even sometimes take an embossing tool, a pokey tool, and get that off. Oh, beautiful. Okay, now I'm just going to tuck this back into here. Now, something I want to caution you on these bigger stamps, by the way. I know we've already done our stamping, but when you have a bigger stamp like this, you want to make sure when you put it onto your Misty surface or onto a block that you don't make an air bubble underneath it. Sometimes that can make your stamping not be solid. And also, make sure you put good pressure in the middle. If you don't, sometimes you can get a skip in the center, and that's because of the surface area of this. It's a lot of surface area, so make sure you press everywhere. But this one turned out really, really pretty. All right, now we need to heat set it. I've zoomed super in. I'm going to try to show you really, really up close the heat setting process. But here's the deal. Turn your heat tool on and let it preheat for probably 30 seconds or more. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on and let it preheat. Okay, I've used some tweezers to lift this up. I don't want to melt my cutting mat, right? So I'm going to hold this at an angle and try to make it where you guys can see it. The hotter your heat tool, the better. It will help with warping because you will melt that embossing powder quicker. Can you see the difference? You can see the shiny side and the dull side. Let's go ahead and finish that out. Now I usually melt the front really well. I also hit the back, and a lot of times I'll start with the back. On this one, it seemed to be stuck really well. I didn't have to start with the back. She's gorgeous. Look at that girl. Okay. Now I'm going to watercolor her, but before I do, I've decided I want to stamp my sentiment right here in this area. So here I'm going to stamp Merry Christmas from her same, from the same stamp set. I love this sentiment. This one is so pretty. And it nestles perfect right here. Now, you could do this while you still have it in the MISTI, but this is sort of an afterthought for me. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a sentiment or not, so I decided I was after I got her embossed. And I'm doing it in black because I want the sentiment to pop. Look at that, how gorgeous. Now remember, this is watercolor paper, so I'm going to get some texture in there. I can touch it up if I want to. Let me show you what you can do. So this is my Illustrated Faith pen in the 0.65 nib. This works really well with the Onyx Black. To me it does, it works great. And where I have those little spots, I can come in and touch up on this watercolor if I need it to be more solid. And I kind of want it to be just a little more, just in places. This works even if you just skip on your stamp. Also, that was the very first time I have ever stamped this image. That was a brand new stamp. So if I had used it a couple times, it would have been even better. But that was pretty good. Okay, now for the fun part. So this is my water media mat, and I'm going to tape my card base or my card down to my water media mat. But I want to tell you what I did because I don't want to take a chance of tearing that. I put this on my jeans and got some of the sticky off. You can kind of see some of the lint there. So get it a little less sticky than it is. Even though it's purple tape, I still like to unsticky it a bit. And when I go to watercolor this, it's going to shift and move. Even though it's a little warped from the heat processing, the heat embossing, it's still going to warp and move with water in a few minutes. So here we go. Let's play. Now, this is where you get to see me play because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not good at this, okay? But I decided to dig into my mini distress inks. These I haven't used in a long, long time. But any of your inks that you can use with water, you can do this with. Or just use watercolors, or even watercolor pencil would be really cool on this. But I'm going to play a little bit. So I've picked the color Worn Lipstick. So I'm going to put that into one of my wells. I want this to be pink and blue, by the way. What is wrong with me? Why am I doing that? I do not know. That's not like me. This color is Weathered Wood. It's pretty pink. Let me sit these like this so you can see them. And then the green I'm using is Bundled Sage. So not traditional Christmas colors. I wanted this to feel a little soft and a little ethereal. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with packages. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But I want to do ornaments first. So I've decided to use my water brush. This is my Nuvo water brush, and I'm just going to drop, let me get that. I feel like that might have a little color on it. It doesn't. You can see there it's not coming off. But I want to drop a little drop of water just by squeezing. See that little drop? And I'm just going to work that into a color that I want to use. So there's some watercolor for me, okay? And I'm going to do the ornaments first in pink and in blue. So I'm going to tap this little ornament here. And the cool thing about doing this embossed is it kind of creates a stopping point for your water. So it just fills that well up that's created by the embossing. So I'm just dropping that in there. Isn't that cool? It's beautiful. And it'll soak into the page a little bit. And remember, this is something Brenda has taught me about watercolor. You're not trying to cover everything. You're not trying to make it a solid image. If you have a little of the white paper showing, like there's a tiny bit showing in that ornament, that's okay. That's part of the, I guess, the allure of watercolor is it's not perfect. So that is a bunch of pink. I still want a little more pink. Let's put this one pink. And maybe right down here. And I might even do a bow in pink. Let's do this big bow in this pretty pink. I like this pink color. And I'm really trying to saturate it So I'm not smearing it out as much as I'm letting it flood the embossing area. This would be pretty done on Yupo paper with those gel pens that Brenda showed you guys how to do on my Product Parade channel. I'll put a link to the Product Parade channel here for you too if you want to go check that out. Look how pretty that pink is. I love that. I cannot believe I'm loving pink so much. All right, let's do one of these packages over here pink as well to draw the pink to this side. Maybe this big one. I'm liking the pink, so let's do this big one in pink. Again, just letting it flood. And I'm not trying to do any shading or highlighting or any of that stuff. Nothing like that. If I want to come back with a white pen when this is dry and add some highlights, I can. But that's what I'm doing for now. All right, let's do some blue. So just using a cloth, I just wiped off the pink, and I'm just going to put it here again and just test it. Make sure there's no pink in there. I'm going to come to the blue and do exactly what we did a while ago and make ourselves a little well of blue, just like this. And now I'm just going to go and drop it into the ornaments like I did the pink. So I can see now that I want to add a little more pink to these ornaments. I don't feel like I have enough pink showing. And it'd probably be best if I did 3 colors of ornaments, but I'm just doing the 2. I think they look good. I love the pink and blue together. Isn't that pretty? Love that. Okay, now let's put some blue in our packages. Well, oh, I missed a whole string of ribbon there. I bet y'all saw it. I bet y'all noticed it. Let me put a little more water here and pick up some more of our pink. There we go, and get that ribbon done that I missed. Again, this is where the embossed image is so helpful because it creates kind of a stopper for the color so it doesn't bleed out. It's very helpful for me because I'm not very good at this. All right, let's do blue in the package. So this big package will do blue and pink. And I got a lot of water there, so I'm not going to need to add. I'm just going to need to drag this around. And let's do this bow in blue. And then maybe one of these packages. I want to show you something that I noticed that I did. I got a little pink in my blue right here, and that color changed, and I'm not in love with that. So I'm just creating myself a cleaner blue over here and just letting it kind of pool in this area. I'm going to take a little of that water off because it's a little much, and I'm going to tap that blue in here. She's looking pretty. Oh, so pretty. I kind of think I want her dress done in pink, but I think I wanted a little stronger pink. So I'm going to come down here where I have more color, and I'm going to pick up even more color and really saturate this. That might even go a tiny bit red. Let me see what that looks like. I'm just going to tap that on and see what we get. I think it's pretty. Yeah, her dress in pink is pretty. And then I need to do her hair and the package, and the tree. I want to do I may leave that one white. I think that one's kind of pretty just sitting there like it's a white package. So I'm going to leave that one white. And let's find a color for her hair. So this color is called Tea Dye. And I'm going to do this for her hair. I'm kind of a brown hair girl. I like brown hair, so I'm going to see how this will go. This may give me a little blonde and a little brown. I think I had a little red in my brush. I'm going to clean my brush. Although that's pretty because she would look like a redhead. Let's try it again and see what we get. Nope, that's what we get. So I say we go with it, right? This is easy. So you're just going to come in here and drop the color in the hair. And I'm just letting the embossing stop my color. So I'm getting a puddle right there that I don't really like. So I'm just going to take a tissue and pick that up. Just touching the tissue to the water, and it will pick that up. See how it just went away? And I've got a little dot right there that's oversaturated. I'm going to pick that up as well. And look how it did. Super cool. I even got a little bit down into her dress because I'm kind of putting wet next to wet. So I'm just going to try to pick a dot of that up and see if that'll pull that out. And it did. Perfect. Okay, again, I'm no watercolorist. I'm going to let this dry before I do the tree because I don't want anything to bleed into each other. So let me let this dry real quick. So here's something else I decided to do. For her skin tone, I didn't wash my brush after doing her hair. I just squirted some of that water out. So you see how it's just a little bit tinted? I even have a little darker of it over here. I'm going to use that for her skin tone, just this tiny tinted color. It may be less than noticeable, and that's okay. Just going to give her a little bit of skin tone there. Now you might notice she's wearing a pair of boots. I'm going to use the color Hickory Smoke and give her a gray pair of boots. I thought about black, but I don't want to go that dark on the black. So just a little bit of water here. And I'm using small amount of water this time and more of the color to kind of saturate it. So I'm going to use Hickory Smoke for her boots. I'm really just trying to work in shades of the color, like shades of blue, shades of pink, shades of gray, not dramatically different shades. I want it to just kind of look almost like one, like monochromatic, but not, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't make sense because I don't really know if it should. Her little shirt right here, I think I'm going to do it in the same gray. I think that'll be pretty. She's wearing a little like undershirt under her dress. So that'll put a little more color here and show a little separation between her hair and her dress and her arm. And it'll also help it to match her little boots. Okay, I might bring that gray color to that package. I think it might be pretty. Let's just see. See, she's following Maymay's rules for color coordinating her gift wrap. Yeah, that looks cool. Needed a little color right there. All right. I'm going to hit this with the heat tool to dry it. Let me tell you this too, because I'm using my heat tool to kind of help this dry, I'm not holding it straight on and letting heat get on there. I'm really kind of holding it out into the side just to put a little air to it. You could do this with a blow dryer too, but I'm just trying to speed up the process because I'm too impatient. All right, the part I'm second most nervous about is the tree. Do you guys feel like this too? You're nervous? All right, here's the color. Actually, let me clean this out. Make sure there's no, okay, good and clean. All right, I'm going to put some water into my green. And now that I see that green, I don't like it. It is too dirty looking. It's not the shade I want for this particular project. So I'm going to clean my brush out and I'm going to find a different green. Let me clean this well. I don't want to accidentally stick my brush in there. I want something brighter. Let's see what cracked pistachio looks like. That might be more the green I'm looking for. Something bright and cheery. Let me make sure my brush is clean. I have a little rag off to the side. That's what I keep reaching over there to wipe it off on. All right, let's add some water. Yes, much more the color I was looking for. Much more. Okay, loading my brush up. I'm going to come in and drop in color. I'm trying to hold the brush where you guys can see what I'm doing. Drop that color in just like we did on everything else. Trying to avoid running into ornaments or anything like that. I do feel it's very important that you let your ornaments dry completely, because remember, with watercolor, water runs to water. So if your ornaments are wet, when you're doing this, if the water hits it, it'll drag into those ornaments, and I'm not wanting that look. If you want that look, that's fine. I'm wanting to be able to have kind of defined look between the ornaments and the tree itself. So again, I have some puddles. So just using a tissue, I'm just going to touch that water. I'm not pressing the paper. I'm just touching until I see the water kind of suck up into the tissue. It's really kind of cool to watch. It just happens in a split second. Just pulls it right up. And then anywhere I over pull, I can spread around. That tree is so pretty. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. You remember me saying that the tree was the second most nervous part I am for this whole thing? Here's the first most part I'm nervous about. So this is the part that's really got me nervous. I want to kind of shade in here. So what I've done is I've put out some antique linen. And I want to show you this. Do you see that greeny color? That's because my brush was dirty. So I cleaned my brush, and I'm going to come in over here and I'm going to pick some more up and try to get it not so green this time. So see how it's not nearly as green? And this is going to be the color I'm going to use for shadow underneath and around. And this part, the reason I'm most nervous about it is because I have to kind of do this on my own. Like, there's no lines, there's nothing to stop me or grab the color. And I'm just wanting to do this. Now, this is like setting it down, if that makes sense. You're kind of setting the image down on the page. It's not floating anymore because we're giving it a place, we're giving it a shadow or some depth. So just coming in underneath her, just putting that in just like that. And I think I might even could go darker. I was nervous that I don't want it to get dark. I want this to stay very pastel and very soft. And I think I can even come in with a little bit of a darker color because I feel like that's very hard to see even on camera. So what I'm going to do is pick up with my tissue the bulk of that water where it's kind of pooling. Because I'm not looking for runs. I don't want the watercolor to run around. Just picking up most of that water. And then I'm going to pick a darker color. So I grabbed the color Frayed Burlap and I put it here into this well and added water. And this is a piece, this is a strip that I cut away, and I'm testing this color on the watercolor strip to see if this is the color I'm looking for. And it's still pretty pale, but I wanted to show you how you could kind of test it and see. And again, I'm being very, very gentle with this. I don't feel like that's the right color either, so let me keep looking. So I decided to go with pumice stone, but much more concentrated. So I put a lot more color in a smaller amount of water there. And you can see here that you can see it there, and that's kind of what I was looking for. I didn't want an orange or a red tone. I was looking for something that was more brown or gray. So I think this is going to work. So a little bit on my brush. I'm going to come right in here and let this be my shadow color. Yep, I'm liking that. You can see it. It feels very shadowy, but it's not overwhelming. See that? I had to play around a lot to get that color because I didn't want to ruin everything by putting the wrong shadow at the bottom. And remember, there's no ruining. It's just in our heads. But for me, I wanted it to look a certain way. So just sitting her down on the page. Doesn't that make a big difference? I think it does. And I think I'm going to let that dry for a second, and I might even come back. And in some of the spots where, like right close to the image, I may even go a little darker. Now, in my mind, when I first did this, I thought about doing some more watercolor around her to kind of bring that blend or that bleed out into the page, but I really like how it's looking, and I don't think I want to mess with any of that. I want to leave that like it is. I am going to use just some clean water. The funny thing is, this looks so different on camera than it does in real life. So I'm looking at my camera a little bit, which is kind of helpful to me. So I'm going to take some clean water. I'm cleaning out some water here. And I'm just going to use a wet brush and come in and soften this edge a little bit. Because like I said, on camera, it looks much harsher than in person. So that's kind of cool. If you are making one of these and you want to see what that looks like, just grab your phone and just look at it through your phone and see what you think. I just don't want it to be quite as harsh as that. That looks better. Okay, I'm calling the watercolor of this done, but we have a few more steps to go to finish the card. Now see how easy that's coming off? That's because I did that, put it on my jeans and, you know, get the sticky off before I put it down. So you can see how easy that's releasing. And I just really wanted it there to hold it still so I didn't move it around while I was painting. Perfect. Look how pretty she is like that, especially when I lift her up. Let's lift her up, get her off that white background. Now wait till you see what we do for our matting. So this is going to be the piece that I'm going to matte the card on, but I want to emboss the edges gold to bring the gold from here to the edge. And I did not cut this piece 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 because that would cover my whole card front. I just want a strip of shiny gold right here. So this piece is cut 4 1/16 by 5 3/16. Let me lay a ruler on that, make sure I told you that tall measurement right, because I think I did. Yeah, 5 3/16. I know we don't like to work in 16ths, but that just allows me to have a 1/16 of an inch border around there. So let me show you what we're going to do. So I just put this little laminated sheet down to protect my work surface. This is stained, not dirty. And what I'm going to do is take my Versamark, okay, and I'm going to run it down the edge just enough to cover that 1/16 of an inch that's going to show. You don't have to go crazy here. You just need enough to cover that little bit we left out. So I'm just running this around just like this all the way around my cardstock, and I'm going to heat emboss this so that it matches the heat embossing we did on the front. So here's my little sheet, and I'm gonna get my embossing powder. Using the same color, you could use a different color. You could do whatever you wanted to. You could do like a pink would be pretty, or a blue, or a gray. And you'll see here, we're just creating matching embossed paper without using a whole piece of embossed paper. And don't worry about how much you pour out of your jar. You can put it right back in. You're not going to waste any of it. I'm even going to slide it in and kind of pick it up just to make sure I've got really good coverage. Just like before, heat up your tool beforehand, preheat it, and then come to this and melt it. Now I'm really making a fuss on this card. I want to show you this. Do you see how that's kind of gray and knocked back and this is white because I'm using white paper? I'm taking a gray marker and coloring the edge like we would if we did fussy cutting. I don't want that to look so stark against that gold when it goes to mat around the card. That just kind of knocks it back a little bit. I know that's a little bit fussy, but this is definitely a make a fuss card, right? This is definitely one we're spending some time on. This is a light gray, by the way. This is number 487 from Nouveau to let you know what color I'm using. And I just think that helped the edge not be so starkly different from the other. All right, check this out. So now when we mount our image here, we'll have a little trim of gold. Look how that changes everything. Isn't that incredible? Okay, let's mount it. And I want to mount it with foam. And because all my pages have been treated and they're kind of warpy, I'm going to use probably more foam than I normally would. So I'm going to start here at the bottom and run foam all the way down the bottom edge, like so, and then trim that away. Then I'm going to do it, I'm going to take these extra pieces and put them in the middle. I'm going to run it here as well. As close to the edge as I can get it. That's going to help me to lay everything out nice and flat. Go, and I'm going to put this piece in the middle, and now I just need 2 side pieces. Okay, that's going to be what we mount her here with. So let's peel off our backers. Now I'm just going to mount that to my base. And remember, you just have a 1/16 of an inch that's going to show all the way around. So I lined it up at the top on both corners. And then if I did the top right, the bottom should be right as well. So there you go. I got a little close down here, but I still think it works. Look how gorgeous she is. So pretty. I'm going to do one more thing before we mount her to our card base. So this is the box I used to spray things in. And I'm going to lay her in here like this. And I've got this shimmer spray. This one is, what color is this one? I can't read that far away. Because you get 2 in a package. Oh, what color is this one? I don't know if it has a color. Maybe it doesn't. So this is the box I used to spray things in. And this is some of the shimmer spray, the sparkle shimmer spray. And it's sheer spritz. And I'm going to use it because I think it needs it, especially in the tree. But I'm going to hold it back kind of far. It also says for you to shake this before use. I'm just going to roll it like this just to get it kind of mixed up. And then we're going to spritz. And I'm going to spritz far away and then work my way in. And now when I pick that up, you should be able to see the shimmer that it adds a little bit. I'm going to add some more to it because I think I went a little too light. There's some of it. Can you see it a little bit? It's always hard to get shimmer or glitz on camera. A little bit, especially there in that watercolor area. It's really pretty. It's still drying in some areas. I'm going to turn it and spritz it one more time. So let's see. Maybe when it's dry, you'll see it better. There's some. It's really wet. So we'll look at it again when it's dry. I'm going to let it sit here and dry, and then we're going to put it onto our card base. So while the card is drying, I'm going to go ahead and do my card base. So this is an A2 size card. I'm going to score it at 5.5. And I used Not Your Mama's cardstock for my card base. I love it for card bases because I like a nice sturdy card base. And I'm just going to do this and get this guy creased really well. I think you can see the shimmer now, but on camera it just kind of looks like gray dots. But in person it's this really pretty shimmery sheen. And it makes me sad that you can't see it on camera. All right, let me glue this down to the front. So just using some art glitter glue, I've covered the back in that. And I'm just going to place this where I will still have another 1/16 of an inch border for our card base. You'll be able to see that white around the edge. So there she is, all glued on. And when we were making the stamp set, this is what I had in mind. I thought she'd be so pretty watercolored, so soft and ethereal like that. but I can imagine her colored is even better, maybe even better, might be, I know, just as good. So there you go. This is from the stamp set Holly and Heels, and I just love how she looks. All right, guys, if you make something using one of our stamp sets, we want to see it. So head to our website, maymaymadeit.com, and share your images on our customer gallery. We look forward to seeing them all the time. And if you need inspiration, there's over 2,000 posts there for you to be inspired by. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.